see again the alignment is off, so I'm going to quickly change that so it's easier for us to look at. Okay, so now we've briefly summarized in this spreadsheet what our student achievement data looks like when it's broken down by male and female students. I've written that final information down here, and we've done that using both filters and formulas to help us begin to look at summaries of specific groups of students. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and save changes to that so we can refer back to it during part 3 where we begin to make graphs. Save that and close out. And then we're going to go ahead and take a look at data B. I'm going to make sure for data B, I'm going to open up the corrected version since we did change the students to the left-hand side. We're beginning to see now why that's important when we're using filters. Okay. So I take a look. My students are on the left-hand side. My objectives are along the top. The 2 columns or the 3 columns I'm going to be paying attention to are the scholar's average score, the race, and their class. And you can see here that there are no blank cells underneath the column headers in between the header and the data, so we're set to go. My next step is to go ahead and add the filter onto these columns. I'm going to do that by selecting Data and then Filter. Again, this looks similar to data set A. We have filters on the 3 areas that we might look at. Now we're going to start here by breaking down student achievement data by race. Now I'm going to show you the trick for how we can get all students to be lined up next to each other in order to use ranges and make it go a little bit quicker. I'm going to start by clicking on the filter for race, and I'm going to sort A to Z. This is going to arrange my students in alphabetical order by race, so that when I filter out by African American students, all of them are going to be next to each other and they will be in cells M4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I will not have to individually enter the cell addresses, but instead will be able to do a range. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to open up my filter. Right now, all of them are selected. I'm going to unclick Select All, which now leaves it blank, and I'm just going to select my African American students. And it's filtered it down. Now, when you look at the left, you see that there aren't any hidden in between because we've already arranged it in order alphabetically. This is going to make it very easy to begin averaging our student achievement scores for African American students. I'm going to select the cell L35, which is right below our student achievement data. I'm going to start with an equal sign, and type in average, and then a parenthesis. I'm going to begin with a cell address L4, and it highlights the one to ensure that we selected the correct one. I'm now going to select a colon because I want this to average data from L4 through L14. Once I've done that, the blue border extends to highlight all of these. I will close the parentheses, and there's my student achievement data summary for my African American students. I'm going to type it down here, and I have 86% mastery. Okay. We'll extend this out a little bit so we can see the full label. Perfect. We're now going to delete the formula because we're going to redo this for each group. I'm now going to unselect African American and select Asian. Now I notice for Asian I only have 2 students, so this is important to note when summarizing any data. If you only have 2 students versus 10, while we are averaging, this average is not going to be quite as reliable as when you have a larger sample set of student data. So keep that in mind when calculating your data. I'm going to start with an equal sign, average L15. I can either do comma L16 or colon L16 to show that it's a range. Close it, and 90% is our average for Asian students. I entered that information down below. I'm going to delete the formula, return to my filter, and now I'm going to do the same thing for my Latino students. I'm going to select the box underneath student mastery, click equals, average, L17 through L23. Again, these are all next to each other. I'm going to close the parentheses and hit enter. For my Latino students, I have an average of 89% mastery. I entered that information down below. I'm going to delete the formula so I'm ready for the next group. Uncheck Latino, select Native American. And again, we see a rather small sample of data here. Keep that in mind as you're calculating. Equals, average, L24 through L26. Close the parentheses, enter, we have 93% mastery. for our Native American students. I'm going to delete the formula, return for our last group. We're going to take a look at our white students. I'm going to select the cell underneath the student mastery, equals, average, parenthesis, L27 through L33, close the parenthesis, hit enter. I have 91% average student mastery for my white students. So now we can undo the filter and look at all of our students. So I'm going to return to select all, and now we're back to our original spreadsheet. When I scroll down to the bottom, I still have all the information that I found using filters to narrow it down by group and then formulas to average the student achievement for each of those groups. Okay? So data B is ready to go for part 3. I'm going to save that and close out. And then we're going to move to our last set of data, which is data set C. Again, this should look familiar. The 2 columns that we added for data C were sex and class. Okay? We notice here that our column headers are directly on top of our data, so we don't need to move them. We're good to go. I'm going to highlight them so I can add the filters. Select data at the top. You'll notice all 3 times data was already selected on my computer because I've been using it. However, often it will start on the home page, in which case you will have to select data and then select filter. My drop-down menus have been added, and now I can begin to look at them by group. For this one, I'm going to look at class. I'm going to do the same thing I did last time, and I'm going to start by sorting them from smallest to largest. This way, each group is going to appear right next to each other, allowing me to use ranges and do this a bit more quickly. So I'm going to start unselecting all and just selecting group 1. This is the class that I have first thing in the morning. I'm going to click the cell at the bottom of student achievement. I'm going to start by creating a formula. I'm going to average the student achievement for students in my first class. Equals, average, cell AD8. And if you look at the far left, we see that all of these, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, are right next to each other. So I can use a range, AD8 through AD13. Close the parenthesis, hit enter. I have 76% for class 1. And I'm going to enter that data below so that I can delete the formula and move on to class 2. I'm going to unselect class 1, select class 2, say OK. I'm going to click the cell right below my student achievement data and use the average formula to average student achievement for class 2. Equals, average, AD 14 through AD 19. Close the parenthesis, click enter. I have 71.2% for class 2. And I rounded that up to 71.2 rather than 71.17. I deleted the formula, so I'm ready for the next group. Return to the filter. I'm going to uncheck group 2, check group 3. I now see only students in group 3. I'm going to click below their student achievement data and use my average formula. Equals, average, AD 20 through AD 25. You'll notice I'm moving a bit quicker this time around. We've seen this 2 other times, and we're doing it the same way. So I'm beginning to help you feel comfortable being able to do this on your own. In this one, we have 67.2% mastery. I'm going to delete the formula because I've entered the information below. Return to the filter, unselect 3, select 4. Now I'm looking at just the student achievement data for my students in class 4. I'm going to click the cell below student achievement, use my average formula. I'm going to average cells AD 26 through AD 31. I'm going to close my parentheses, hit enter. And for my last group, I have 65.8%. 65.8%. And that would be class 4. Okay? I'm going to remove the filter so we're looking at all of our data. Click select all. Now I'm looking at all of my data, but at the bottom I have my summaries that I found for classes 1, 2, 3, and 4 using filters and then formulas. So data set C is ready to go. I'm going to save my work so that it's ready for part 3, and I'm going to close out.